You're listening to the Parts Pros podcast, the only podcast made specifically for automotive parts professionals. We're here to dive into the latest industry trends, expert strategies, and real-world solutions to drive success and boost your parts department bottom line. Hi, I'm Amanda. I'm your host. I have more than a decade of experience helping dealerships drive growth in the ever-evolving digital landscape. And then I am joined by two guests today. First, Emily. You've seen her before from RevolutionParts. Emily is a parts e-commerce guru with more than 5 years of hands-on experience working with both OEM and aftermarket parts industry leaders. Hi, Emily, and welcome.
Hi, Amanda. Thank you for the intro. Glad to be back again. And I hear today we have our first Nissan guest, so I'm excited for that.
Oh, is Ian our first ever Nissan guest?
I don't know, but if I'm wrong, listeners, feel free to roast me on Twitter.
Well, in that case, let me introduce Ian Bellamy. Ian has been working in e-commerce for dealerships for about 5 years, but he's been working in the actual world of car dealerships for more than 10. He's worked in service, parts, and e-commerce for Nissan across a couple of different dealerships, but he is currently at Murfreesboro Nissan in Tennessee, and Murfreesboro sure is a mouthful. So I see on your shirt, Ian, it just says Boro Nissan.
Yep. Nice rebrand.
Boro Nissan. Okay.
Yeah,
is that something that people in Murfreesboro shorten it to?
Yep, in Murfreesboro and surrounding, so we're really close to Nashville. So we're one of the closest, biggest cities to Nashville. So we're pretty known widely across here as the borough.
The borough. Well, tell us about your experience working for Nissan in the borough.
Yep. So I've been here for a long time. Moved here in college. Started with Nissan in 2015. As just a service advisor. So I wrote service for a while. Wasn't really for me, I noticed. And so I got into parts and found a real love for parts, a little less in the spotlight. Just found a love for the systematic approach to it.
Hey, I'm with you. I have been across every part of the dealership and everything from sales to service to now parts. I would say selling a part is a whole lot easier than selling a car. And it's definitely easier than selling somebody on a complete overhaul of their very messed up vehicle.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like where I'm at right now.
Well, we've got a series of questions. And for the first time ever here on season 3 of the Parts Pros podcast, a quick fire round. So let's get started. First, I want to talk about being a one-man e-commerce department. I think that that's something that we hear from a lot of dealers that we talk to. Either they're a one-man e-commerce department or many times a one-man e-commerce and parts department. And it's quite impressive to be doing as much as you do all by yourself. So talk about some of the unexpected challenges that you faced running an e-commerce department solo and how you've overcome them.
Yep. So first off, hats off to whoever's running the whole parts department and e-commerce, project by themselves. It's a lot of work. So I still have my normal parts duties as well, but I mainly do e-commerce. Coming in, it was really important to set certain procedures and set them in place, make my own forms, get a comfortable rhythm and workflow in my schedule to make sure I'm parsing out my time correctly and handling all the things I need to handle, as well as being support for my team here. Also do our social media videos and things like that. So it's important for me to schedule out my day and make sure that the reason they brought me here, which is e-commerce, is the thing that I'm putting the most attention to and making sure it's going in the right direction. There's a lot of pitfalls coming into it, especially setting a target. Setting the ways that you're going to reach that target, getting your team on board, getting them to trust the vision, and allowing them to put trust into you to lead it forward.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure, a lot of work, and nobody to fall back on other than yourself. How do you take a day off?
I usually don't. Even on the weekends, I'm checking emails, especially if you kind of take it on as your own baby whenever you're the only person over an e-commerce site. So just because you clock out doesn't mean that people still aren't visiting your site. People still aren't, trying to reach you to track a package or this and that. And so since I know I still have to come in Monday morning and, I'm the one that's dealing with all of the correspondence, I'm usually on top of things over the weekend as well, just to make sure I'm not coming into a storm on Mondays.
I completely understand that. We, Emily and I know that world, don't we? We're usually talking on Saturday nights and Sunday mornings, so we understand. All right, talk to us about the most rewarding part. Now, you're working a lot of days, you're working a lot of hours, and obviously being a one-man show, you deal with a lot of stress. What's the most rewarding part of taking your business online?
Yeah, the most rewarding part is seeing success, seeing results for me. I'm sure for a lot of people, but it's starting from a certain point, like where I came in at, they already had a website. So for me, it was a matter of seeing scale and something I could show, stakeholders, my manager at the end of the year, like this is what I was able to do. They kind of let me take free reins of it, not over my shoulder, just like I said, put the trust in me. So it was really rewarding to see after these few years being with them, just the results and the reputation we've been able to build, the success, and just seeing our little town of Murfreesboro grow on the United States map here.
Yeah, we can hear some background noise coming from the dealership. So clearly,
we stay busy.
Your little dealership in your little town is a very busy one.
Yes.
I can always recognize an impact tool when I hear one.
Yeah, we probably hear it in our sleep at this point, all of us.
Basically, yes. All right, so I have one more question for you, and then I'm going to hand it over to Emily. Where was the moment that you realized this is really working when it comes to your e-commerce?
Probably whenever we started to get recognized from Nissan corporate, just for our hard work, persistence, and reputation we were able to build. They actually came to us earlier this year for a unique venture to sell sushi knives of all things. There was a partnership with a chef in Japan that went really well, so they decided to design sushi knives modeled after the Z. So we got selected to specifically sell these on our website, and so I didn't realize there was going to be such a big market for it, but it really helped us expose our website to a lot of people, and that wouldn't have otherwise came there or found out about us. We sold them in Canada. We had calls coming in from Germany. I was having to pop in emails on Translator just to know what these people were asking for. But that was a really good moment for us, knowing that Nissan trusted us with that. We were able to deliver, handle it successfully, smoothly, and then hopefully we'll be able to see future partnerships like that in the future with them.
Now, if I know anything about a Z enthusiast, I know that they are very, very enthused about their vehicles. So I'd imagine that those knives were probably a pretty big deal.
Yeah, they were. Like I said, I didn't think there was going to be a market for it, but you have Z enthusiasts, you have sushi enthusiasts, you have chefs who, were involved with that chef. So it just really, there's ways that you'll never expect that could expand your e-commerce site or the outlook on your business, your dealer, that come along, and you just got to know when to capitalize on that. And now we've got more customers that are added to our database from those sushi knives that whenever they go to service, get parts for those Z, they're going to remember us, or they're in our remarketing list, and it'll be the gift that keeps on giving, I assume.
Absolutely. Now, did you snag a sushi knife yourself, or did you have to sell them all?
We may have a couple here. We're wanting to do some unique things with it, so we're seeing how we can remarket that, potentially with the sale of another Z, or just a raffle. We have a couple left that we're saving once the hype goes down on them a little bit to re-put out there and create some more hype for them again.
Very cool. We'll have to keep an eye out for your social media and see when you start auctioning those off, because I bet that's going to be a big deal.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll put my hat in the ring for that. That's pretty cool. We like to make sushi at home here.
I'll make sure to give you a heads up.
So, okay, good. Yeah, give me the insider scoop. So we heard that you switched to RevolutionParts from SimplePart. And for listeners who don't know what SimplePart is, it's an e-commerce platform similar to RevolutionParts. Personally, I'm biased. I prefer RevolutionParts. But I'm just curious, as the RP representative here on this podcast, I'm curious what prompted that move from SimplePart to RevolutionParts.
Yep. So whenever I joined with my current dealer and we started to set a strategy, RevolutionParts actually came up whenever we were looking at potentially maybe switching over. So I had a demo set up with RevolutionPart about a year prior to a partnership that ended up happening with Nissan. So we were familiar with the platform. We liked the features, the customization, things like that, compared just honestly with what was offered on SimplePart. I'm a coding guy, not major, but I can do a little HTML and CSS, so I really appreciated that RevolutionPart offered you as the individual to be able to go in there and add some flair or adjust pages if you ever wanted to, and not have to follow a chain of, command to kind of make those adjustments and things like that. SimplePart was a good platform, but once Nissan offered that incentive for all dealers to kind of make that partnership, we were more than happy to kind of switch over and start fresh, and it's been really, really good partnership so far.
That's awesome. You seem like a pretty digitally inclined guy, but as you know, a lot of people in the parts world wouldn't describe themselves that way. And I think there's a lot of talk about dealers being slow to adopt digital, especially in the parts department. What's your take on that, and what would you say to the skeptics?
I think it's understandable. I understand where a lot of concerns are coming from. Some of the more common that I've just heard personally is, when it comes to returns, to customers looking up the correct parts, to extra phone calls coming in, to having the staff to be able to handle just a separate project like this, or it's hard to have a bunch of people checking on it because then you're stepping on each other's toes, you're emailing twice to the same customer. So if it's feasible for the dealer to have the dedicated staff to handle it, that's usually better. But I understand the concerns. For us, I was willing to take those on, and there's always a solution. So we just find a way to smooth out those pain points and make them easier for us. But returns is something that's going to happen in e-commerce in general, things like that. Customers looking up the wrong parts. So I've established a process to, if a customer places an order without a VIN number, I have a pre-written email I'll send out like, hey, I saw you didn't attach your VIN number. Do you mind to send that over just so I can make sure I'm getting you the right part the first time? And they always appreciate that. We've actually gotten a lot of Google reviews specifically stating that, we make sure that we get the right part the first time, and that's translated over to, if you ask AI about our site, that's one of the things that'll pop up. That only comes from organic responses from customers and just really covering our tracks and making sure we're getting the right part shipped out the first time.
Very cool. That's a good piece of advice. Process, right? Mm-hmm. Well, okay, I've got a quick fire round for you. Just curiosity, a couple of questions that I think we have because we work with so many Nissan dealers, but also because I just want to see what you have to say about some of these things. First, what's your most ordered part online?
So our most ordered part is honestly a rear bumper step assist for the Frontiers. This was something we had success on that I noticed when I first ran a report, like, okay, what's our most sold items? Chose these to optimize the product pages, so optimize the SEO, metadata, things like that. And then we instantly saw an uptick in these to where we're selling, 20, 30 of them a month. Now they're on back order. And at this point, I'm wondering who else could possibly need one, because at this point, it feels like we've sold one to every Frontier driver. We just, we sell a ton of them. So
you're selling more to Frontier drivers that have run into things with those steps.
Yes.
All right. So what is the weirdest online customer request?
The weirdest request is going to be a callback to the sushi knives. Like I said, getting calls from Canada, other countries, asking about a sushi knife. I never thought I would be sitting in a dealership, giving information on some sushi knives.
That's hilarious. Okay, one tool or habit you cannot live without.
For me personally, Google Analytics. I think anybody in e-commerce, that's going to be a good tool for you to understand the geographics of your customer base, the demographic, a lot of important information. So for me, Google Analytics.
We understand that well, don't we, Emily?
Sure do. Team marketing.
Who is someone in this industry that you look up to?
Honestly, I'd have to say Jeff Bezos. I think he's the North Star for anybody that's in e-commerce. So, we just try to take a little bit of what he's doing and apply it to our own little thing here.
I was just talking to somebody about that the other day. I have been buying things from Jeff Bezos since the only thing he sold was books. So that's a pretty good person to look up. Yeah. What is your least favorite part to pack?
My least favorite is wind deflectors, anything plastic. A lot of dealers don't sell those, but we use that as an opportunity to capture those sales. So we just pack them up real nice. It's a little tedious, but not fun.
See, I expected something huge. I expected you to say like bumpers or roof racks, but just some little teeny wind deflectors because they're fragile.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
All right, last question. What's the largest order you've ever processed?
The largest order I ever processed was from a customer who's a GTR enthusiast. So anybody who knows anything about GTRs knows that expensive car, expensive parts. So he ordered a ton of stuff for it, and it was over a $10,000 order. So that was the biggest order we've gotten from a single customer.
So anybody that says that e-commerce isn't worth it because people nickel and dime you to death, you never make any real money. There you go. You can sell $10,000 worth of parts at one time to an enthusiast just simply because.
Exactly.
Well, that was awesome. Thank you for answering our quick fire round. I appreciate you sharing all of that information about your experience, not only with sushi knives, but also with e-commerce. This has been an awesome episode of the Parts Pros podcast, being joined by Ian Bellamy from Burrow Nissan in Tennessee. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. For more information on the Parts Pros and our official e-commerce sponsor, Revolution Parts, visit partsprospodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, or our website so you don't miss the next episode. Again, partsprospodcast.com, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.